Hump day. You know what? I did a book review. I hope you had a lovely night last night and that you slept really well. I talked to one of my friends earlier who I'll be interviewing on Sunday in regards to her book and her man's book. And he's got a hot new erotica out. But in the meantime, the rest of the book reviews I'm going to do are going to be right before that interview at 3 o'clock on Sunday. I'm going to do one. Since I'm going to do one. Yes. I'll do one on an erotica before, on a novel that I read before the interview. Since I got to be in the room getting set up anyway. So that's how we do that. So the next book review I'm going to do, and you know what? I wrote the review. It was approved by Amazon. I put the review on the Amazon page. And I was going to read this review to you. But I realize I have a lot more to say than what I left on that Amazon page. Before we get started, we'll do this after. It was a deep conversation this AM. I was with the coven, and Val talked on a lot of things, and I had to decipher through a lot. An hour before she finally did the scriptures, we went through that, and she took us on a tour around the world of places she visited and people she'd been with, things of that nature. And then we got into Judges 6 to 7 this morning. All right, so this review for Enoch, The Great Inversion from Comic Secrets to Imperial Order. I've been out in these cosmic streets. The history of early Christianity is not a smooth evolution of doctrine. It is a violent epistemic inversion. It is the collision of two irreconcilable worlds. The apocalyptic frontier, mystical, fragmented, visionary, destabilized. The imperial machine, standardized, hierarchical, institutional, and enforceable. What emerges is not simply Christianity, but a restructuring of spiritual reality itself. Welcome to the room, darling. Welcome to the room. Arya-Q9G, Silver Services Hub 786. I'm in America. I'm from the stars. But my avatar here resides currently in America. All right. Okay. Revolution becomes doctrine. Vision becomes creed. Charisma becomes hierarchy. Mystery becomes administration. Cosmic chaos becomes imperial order. If you don't understand you came from the stars, that is a whole different conversation for a different day, okay? All right. The apocalyptic frontier. Reality has already broken. Thesis. Early apocalyptic Judaism was not religion as usual. It was a psychological survival system built inside civilizational collapse. The world of Second Temple Judaism was not stable enough to produce calm theology. It produced cosmic crisis literature. This is a world of empires crushing identity, priesthood competing for legitimacy, violence normalized as governance, and meaning destabilized by occupation. Out of this collapse emerges the Gnostic imagination. This book right here. Okay? All right. Books 1, 2, and 3. The Enochic Revolution. Externalizing evil. The Book of Enoch 1 performs a radical interpretive move. Evil is no longer primarily human. Evil is now cosmic intrusion. The Watchers descend, they corrupt biology, they corrupt knowledge, they corrupt civilization itself. This is not meant for entertainment. It is cosmology as crisis explanation. The course shift. Where Genesis says humanity fell inward, Enoch says reality was invaded from above. This is the first great inversion. Forbidden knowledge, technology becomes theology. Thesis. In Enoch, knowledge is not neutral. It is weaponized as the origin of civilization's corruptions. The Watchers teach metallurgy, weapon systems, astrology, cosmetics, and enchantment. This is not random detail. It is a theory of civilization. Civilization itself is contaminated knowledge transmission. Hello, it's Stefani, AGIO, Georgie, 4435, and OCAN CNAR 3410. Welcome into the room, darlings. Yeah, they got rid of everything interesting right there because I like all of those, okay? Two competing readings, both true at once. Civilizational anxiety model. Knowledge accelerates violence, vanity, hierarchy, and collapse. Anti-imperial critique model. Knowledge is controlled by elites, priestly systems, military technological monopoly, symbolic domination, astrology, ritual authority. Either way, the conclusion is the same. Power is encoded in knowledge distribution. Y'all, my production team, can y'all hear me today? Because some of these videos y'all couldn't hear me on last week. All right. The terror of the divine holiness as overload. Thesis. In apocalyptic thought, proximity to God is not comfort. It is ontological collapse. In second Enoch, divine exposure becomes physically unbearable. Enoch's transformation destabilizes perception. His radiance must be contained for human survival. The pattern across scripture. Moses' face becomes unbearable. Isaiah, I am undone. Ezekiel, bodily collapse. Revelation, visionary overwhelm. Core principle, the sacred is not gentle, is structurally overwhelming. Divinity is not intimacy. It is a contact with an unfiltered system beyond human cognition. The heavenly bureaucracy, surveillance before institutions exist. Enochic mysticism produces a proto-bureaucratic universe where reality is fully recorded, monitored, and hierarchically organized. In Enoch 3, Enoch becomes Metatron. This reminds me of, do y'all remember as a child, we had Transformers? This kind of reminds me, when we get to this chapter, of Transformers. Y'all don't remember Transformers? More than meets the eye. Okay, anyway. Enoch becomes Metatron, cosmic scribe, angelic administrator, overseer of divine records. The surveillance principle. Metatron's logic. Nothing exists without being seen. Nothing occurs without being recorded. Nothing escapes accounting. Oh, a whole lot exists without being seen. Yeah. I will agree that nothing occurs without being recorded, even if man did not write it down. That does not mean that it's not accounted for by the cosmos or by karma. Nothing escapes accounting. I will agree there as well. The critical shift, but yeah, a whole lot exist behind closed doors. Those are called secret societies before they are birthed into the world. Oh, hello, darling. Nick Abaka, Fred W711. Welcome into the room, darling. All right, so the critical shift. This is where mysticism crosses into structure. Revelation becomes documentation. Vision becomes record keeping. Divine presence becomes administrative system. Because a picture is worth 1,000 words. I can kind of see the logic, but know logically that things do happen before they're seen. The universe becomes legible and therefore controllable, not by humans, but by cosmic hierarchy. The internal term, Gnostic, as liberation from external systems. Thesis. Gnosticism replaces cosmic hierarchy with radical interiority, collapsing external authority entirely into self-knowledge. In texts like Gospel of Thomas, Gospel of Mary, Gospel of Judas, the axis shifts, by the way, wonderful Gospels. I love the Gospel of Thomas. And you can find these in the missing books of the Bible, okay? The axis shifts from heaven to inside the human being. The Gnostic break. The world is not simply broken, it is misconstructed, falsely authored, spiritually inverted. The demerge creates structure, but not truth. Core inversion. The creator becomes the problem, ignorance becomes the enemy, knowledge becomes salvation. The demerge inversion, reality itself becomes suspicious. Thesis. Gnosticism is not reform, it is a metaphysical revolt. In some systems, Yada Ba'oth governs maternal reality. Sophia faces divine order. Eden becomes containment architecture. Radical consequence. The world is no longer a home. It is a system of misdirection. That is why it is destabilizing to emerging orthodoxy. It undermines creation theology, incarnation, resurrection, institutional mediation. Salvation through gnosis, authority collapses inward. Thesis. If truth is internal, then all external authority becomes optional. From the Gospel of Thomas, what is within you will save you. Structural consequence. If this is true, priesthood collapses, sacrament loses monopoly, institutional mediation becomes secondary, hierarchy loses necessity. Critical tension. Gnosticism removes external control systems but replaces them with initiation knowledge, symbolic hierarchy, and guided revelation. Liberation and secrecy become the same mechanism. Sophia and Mary, the feminine as disrupted authority. Thesis. Feminine spiritual authority represents a parallel epistemology that destabilizes patriarchal consolidation. In the Gospel of Mary, Mary holds revelation. Peter resists. The conflict is not personal, it is structural. Who has access to the truth? Sophia principle. Sophia represents wisdom outside institutional control, divine insight not mediated by hierarchy, feminine coded epistemic authority. Constantine, the imperial capture of theological chaos. I'm gonna get a drink of water, y'all. Awesome. Thesis. Constantine does not invent Christianity, he converts its instability into an administrative system. Constantine the Great enters a fractured spiral ecosystem. His solution is not theological, it is political. Unify or destabilize the empire. The Edict of Milan, 313 CE. Edict of Milan legalizes Christianity, restores property, integrates religion into state structure. Core shift. Christianity moves from persecution to infrastructure, from movement to system, from charisma to bureaucracy. Nicaea, the myth of choice, the reality of enforcement. Thesis. Nicaea does not create Christianity, it enforces coherence on an already fragmented system. First Council of Nicaea resolves disputes, but also stabilizes authority. The imperial mechanism. Disagreement becomes destabilization. Theology becomes governance issue. Orthodoxy becomes enforceable identity. Belief becomes standardized reality, not through persuasion alone, through imperial backing. The three canon filters, the pruning of chaos. Canon formation is a filtering system that eliminates unstable cosmologies in favor of scalable doctrine. Apostolic authority. Doctrinal alignment. Widespread usage. Structural effect. This process removes radical cosmologies, speculative hierarchies, alternative revelations, and fragmented mysticism. Core thesis. The canon is not just selected, it is stabilized. The imperial Christ symbolic regime change. Thesis. Christianity shifts from underground symbolism to imperial visual language. Before, shepherd, fisherman, hidden teacher. After, pantocrator, imperial imagery, throne authority. Core transformation. Suffering becomes sovereignty. Martyrdom becomes empire-compatible symbolism. Humility becomes rulership iconography. The just war inversion, the cross becomes power. Because, originally it's from Egypt, created by the Ankh. Anyway. Thesis. The system of execution becomes the symbol of conquest. In Enoch, knowledge equals corruption. Weapons equal angelic violation. Under empire, cross equals military standard. Faith equals imperial identity. Religion equals state legitimacy. Core inversion. What was once persecution becomes authority. The final inversion. Mystical chaos becomes administrative religion. Thesis. Early Christianity does not disappear. It is structurally reorganized into an institution capable of scaling across empire. By the way, one of my favorite movies, Constantine. I think Keanu Reeves looks quite sexy in that movie. He did a daggone good job. Let's keep going. What is lost? Fragmentation, visionary excess, cosmic plurality, decentralized revelation. What is gained? Stability, uniform doctrine, imperial integration, global expansion. Plurality, my apologies. I couldn't quite catch it. I got it now. Final thesis, the eyes of history. The early Christian world is not a linear tradition. It is a collision of incapable realities, incompatible realities. Mystics who saw the cosmos as alive and unstable. Apocalyptic writers who explain suffering through cosmic invasion. Gnostics who turned salvation inward. Institutions that standardized belief into governance, and empires that converted theology into infrastructure. What began as visions of 365 eyes watching the world becomes a world where only one interpretive system remains visible, and that is the Great Inversion. Whew. And that's how I felt about that book. Very detailed. Since I do like things like astrology and angels and cosmic order and things of that nature, my favorite book out of it was probably book 2. Can't tell it was my favorite by that reading, huh? That's all right. Like I said, I learned a lot. We're going to talk about something that we covered with the coven this morning. That, yeah, it's not going to be an hour. It's going to be real brief. Yes, indeed. Religion, consciousness, and liberation. Religion, power, and distortion is number one. Religion weaponized becomes a form of psychological and social pestilence, is what Reverend Valerie Love said this morning. Institutional systems, church, kingdom hall, temples can function as control structures rather than liberation spaces. Example of doctrinal framing. Bible college can lead to atheism or rejection of God in the Bible. Scholars like Bart Ehrman, agnostic conclusions after text study, key tension belief systems versus critical inquiry, meaning using your critical thinking skills. Modes of knowing, different ways humans process reality, critical thinking, intuition, spidey senses, and energetic perception, inner sensing, ancestral traditional religions as lived knowledge system, recognition that Africa often integrates church, Ifa shrine-based systems, seen as parallel spiritual technologies expressed differently. We talked about a bunch of religions this morning. Christianity, church, Jehovah's Witnesses, Kingdom Hall. We talked about the rebellion phase of when you start to reject these type of systems. She talked about how she liked to party and other stuff, but she realized that just like me, I like to party and some other stuff too. And she realized that after she left the Kingdom Hall, that her going to partying and doing whatever it is she wanted to do, that wasn't quite the answer she was looking for as well. So that boiled down to us coming back to the different expressions of similar humans seeking something spiritual. Okay. We talked about how the mind creates a false dichotomy between them. We talked about the law of polarity. Opposites exist as part of the same system. Religion, atheism, belief, skepticism, freedom, captivity. Human growth often comes from navigating both sides rather than choosing only one. Freedom versus liberation. I can do whatever I want. Mental autonomy without inner alignment. That's freedom. Liberation. Inner release from conditioning, trauma, and inherited mental loops. Alignment of inner world with conscious awareness. You'll have to check that video out. It was really deep. I'll post the link there in the comment section. There's a difference between freedom and liberation. Conscious captivity, mental and emotional. People can remain mentally imprisoned while physically free. Oh, I must have meant the other way around. People can remain physically imprisoned and be mentally free. Example, Nelson Mandela, physical imprisonment, mental discipline, and vision. Emotional captivity includes trauma loops, memory repetition, cobweb thinking, reactive identity. Wow, I got it here, so I can correct it later. Right here. Okay. Trauma and energetic disruption. Trauma shifts people out of their natural state, especially childhood innocence. Observed in children as natural joy, curiosity, spiritual openness, later disrupted by things like PTSD, like emotional imprinting, environmental conditioning. Concepts. Energy vampires equal people, situations that drain vitality. Energetic misalignment equal relationships or environments that no longer match your state. Example, a lot of the people I've talked to that now are running businesses said they had to let the people they were with that weren't on the same, that weren't drifting, that were drifting, as they would make certain decisions in their lives, naturally, those people just simply would not be there anymore. I mean, they're still maybe accessible, but they're not present in the life like they once were present in your life as they were at one time. Okay, and it's not to be mean or anything. It's just that you are now concentrating on growth and elevation for yourself. And that requires just 24 hours in a day. That requires quite a bit of time. So, yeah. Self-identification and mental clearing. Core practice idea. Track thoughts to their origin. Oh my gosh. I think that was the highlight for me. This thought came from that relationship. This belief came from that experience. Immediately identify and evaluate mental content. Goal. Clean the internal system. Clean my ish that ain't aligned. Separate present awareness from past programming. Moral energetic balance. Need for dual awareness. MAT. It's a word, Egyptian word. MAT. M-A-T. Order, truth, and balance. Isfet, another Egyptian word. ISFET. Chaos, distortion, and balance. Growth comes from recognizing both, not denying either. Okay. Healing, accountability, and reality integration. Acknowledge trauma without denial. I've been very blessed. Okay, I am very grateful that there are some horrors in life that I did not have to deal with. Yes, to some of these stories that I have heard about foster homes or kidnappings or things happening without I'm rephrasing the words. And even with trafficking or slavery, those are the more, but some of them other ones I was thinking, just horrific, okay? Key reframing. It happened. It is real. You are not responsible for what happened to you, but you are responsible for what you do now. You are still here. Avoid endless why and staying locked in origin questions beyond usefulness. Ancestral and energetic lineage. People are influenced by ancestral and environmental energy fields. Relationships often reflect internal energetic states. Some connections stay and resonate, others fall away naturally. Central questions. Are you free or are you liberated? Because there's a difference between the two. Are your choices reactions or conscious creation? Are you acting from trauma or awareness? What thoughts are yours versus inherited programming? Conclusion: not all freedom is liberation. Rebellion is not the same as awakening. Liberation requires awareness of conditioning, recognition of trauma, active mental and emotional clearing, integration rather than rejection of experience. Awesome. So thank you for spending your time with me today and listening to my book review on the 3 books of Enoch. Well, verbal book review, not the one I have on Amazon. And to listening to my thoughts in regards to religion, consciousness, and liberation for what was discussed this AM. Love to the birds. Mwah. I hope you have a magnificent rest of your hump day, honey.